Loneliness is one of the most powerful and universal experiences of being human. It touches every life, whether in moments of quiet isolation, during times of heartbreak, or even in the middle of crowded spaces where we feel invisible. Loneliness can make success feel hollow, love feel distant, and life itself feel empty. Yet loneliness, as painful as it may be, is not unbreakable. It is not a life sentence. It can be dissolved, not by temporary distractions or shallow fixes, but by powerful and lasting practices that transform the way we connect, with ourselves, with others, and with the deeper purpose of our existence. Today, I want to share with you 7 of the most powerful keys to dissolving loneliness forever. These are not quick hacks, but life-shifting truths that can fill the emptiness with meaning, love, and belonging. The first and most powerful key to dissolving loneliness is learning how to connect deeply with yourself. At first, this may sound simple, almost too simple, but in reality, this is where almost everyone struggles. Loneliness, in its deepest form, is not just the absence of others around you. It is the absence of a true and loving relationship with yourself. It is a disconnection from your own being. If you are not comfortable in your own company, if you do not recognize your own value, then you will feel lonely no matter how many people surround you. And if you are not truly connected to who you are, every relationship you enter will feel incomplete, because you will always be searching for someone else to give you the acceptance and love that you have denied yourself. Think about it. How often do you find yourself sitting in silence, scrolling through distractions, trying to fill empty moments with noise? How often do you run away from your own thoughts because being alone with them feels uncomfortable? How often do you search for external validation, a like on social media, a text message from someone, approval from a boss or a friend, to feel like you matter? This is what most people do, and it is why loneliness remains even when surrounded by others. You cannot dissolve loneliness by chasing the outside world. You dissolve it by turning inward and building a deep friendship with yourself. Connecting with yourself begins with acceptance. True acceptance. Not the conditional acceptance that says, I will love myself when I achieve this, when I look like this, when I am successful in that. No. It is unconditional acceptance that says, I am worthy now, in this moment, as I am. This does not mean you stop growing. It does not mean you settle or never improve. It means you stop punishing yourself for not being perfect. It means you recognize that even in your imperfections, you are still enough. Many people try to fill their loneliness with relationships, but if you do not love yourself, you will never believe anyone else truly loves you. Their words will feel empty because your inner dialogue rejects it. To dissolve loneliness, you must first silence the harsh critic inside your mind and replace it with compassion. Imagine speaking to yourself the way you would to your best friend. Imagine comforting yourself instead of tearing yourself down. That is the kind of self-connection that begins to heal the deep emptiness of loneliness. Another part of connecting with yourself is learning to enjoy solitude. Solitude is not the same as loneliness. Loneliness is emptiness. Solitude is fullness. Solitude is the space where you discover who you really are, where you create, where you recharge, where you hear your own thoughts without the noise of the world drowning them out. Some of the greatest leaders, creators, and thinkers in history cherished solitude because they understood its power. When you can sit alone in silence and feel peace rather than pain, you know you are truly connected to yourself. Ask yourself, do you know what makes you come alive? Do you know what excites you, what inspires you, what gives you energy? Or have you been so caught up in trying to please others that you have forgotten what truly matters to you? Connecting with yourself means rediscovering your passions. It means giving yourself permission to dream again, to play, to explore, to live fully even when no one else is watching. And here's something profound. When you are deeply connected to yourself, you stop feeling desperate for others to fill the void. You begin to approach relationships not from a place of neediness but from a place of wholeness. You no longer say, I need someone to complete me. Instead, you say, I am complete, and I want to share my completeness with you. That shift changes everything. It transforms loneliness into empowerment, because now your happiness is not dependent on someone else showing up in a certain way. You already carry it within you. Practical ways to connect with yourself include journaling, writing down your thoughts and emotions without judgment, so you can see what is really going on inside you. Meditation, sitting in silence and breathing, learning to be present with yourself. Affirmations, repeating truths that rewire your mind to see your worth. Reflection, asking yourself deep questions like, what do I need? What do I feel? What do I want? These practices are not just self-help cliches, they are tools to build a relationship with yourself that is unshakable. And here's the truth, until you connect with yourself, loneliness will always find its way back, no matter how many people you surround yourself with. Because no one else can give you the connection you refuse to give yourself. The day you finally look in the mirror and see not someone who is lacking, but someone who is whole, worthy, and loved, that is the day loneliness begins to dissolve in its most powerful form. The second key to dissolving loneliness is the practice of vulnerability. If connecting with yourself is the foundation, then vulnerability is the bridge that allows others to truly connect with you. Without it, every relationship you have will remain on the surface, and the surface is never enough to dissolve the deep ache of loneliness. We live in a world that celebrates strength, independence, and the appearance of having everything together. From a young age, many of us are taught not to cry, not to show weakness, not to reveal too much of what we are going through. Be strong, they tell us. Don't let them see you struggle. And while there is value in resilience, the unintended consequence is that we begin to build walls around our hearts. We show the world a version of ourselves that looks polished, confident, and unbothered, while inside, we may be breaking, hurting, or longing for someone to simply understand. The problem is this: walls may protect you from rejection, but they also block you from connection. You cannot be truly loved if you are never truly seen. You cannot be deeply understood if you are never truly honest. And so the loneliness continues, not because people don't care, but because they don't know the real you. Vulnerability is the courage to take off the mask. It is the bravery to say, this is me. This is what I feel. This is what I fear. This is what I dream. It does not mean sharing every detail of your life with everyone you meet, but it does mean daring to be authentic, especially with those you want to feel close to. Vulnerability invites intimacy. It creates space for others to step in and say, me too. I understand. I've been there. And suddenly, loneliness begins to dissolve because you realize you are not carrying your burdens alone. Think about the most powerful connections you have ever experienced. Were they built on perfection? Or were they built in moments of honesty? Maybe it was when a friend admitted they were scared, and you realized you weren't the only one. Maybe it was when someone shared their pain, and in their tears, you found your own healing. Maybe it was when you confessed your struggles, expecting judgment, but instead received compassion. That is the power of vulnerability. It transforms isolation into solidarity. But here's the challenge: vulnerability feels risky. We fear rejection. We fear that if people see the real us, they will walk away. And yes, sometimes they might. But here is the truth: those who cannot handle your vulnerability were never meant to hold your heart. Those who reject your authenticity make room for those who will embrace it. Vulnerability acts like a filter. It removes the shallow and attracts the genuine. By daring to be vulnerable, you may lose a few, but you gain depth with the ones who truly matter. And let's be clear, vulnerability is not weakness. It is one of the greatest forms of strength. It takes strength to hide, yes, but it takes far more strength to reveal. It takes courage to say, I am hurting. It takes bravery to admit, I don't have it all figured out. The people who change the world, who inspire others, who create real movements of connection, are not the ones who pretend to be flawless. They are the ones who dare to show their humanity. So how do you practice vulnerability? It begins with small steps. It may mean opening up to a trusted friend instead of saying, I'm fine, when you're not. It may mean sharing your dreams out loud even if you're afraid of failing. It may mean saying, I need help, instead of carrying the weight alone. Vulnerability is not about dramatic confessions. It is about choosing honesty over pretense. One of the greatest tragedies of loneliness is that so many people are silently waiting for someone else to go first. You may be surrounded by people who are just as lonely as you, but they are waiting for you to open the door. When you choose vulnerability, you become that door. You give others permission to drop their masks too. Suddenly, two lonely people become two connected people, and from there, loneliness begins to dissolve. And let's not forget, vulnerability also applies to the relationship with yourself. Many people are not even honest with themselves about what they feel. They bury emotions, numb their pain, and pretend everything is fine inside. But healing begins with admitting the truth, even if only to yourself. I am lonely. I am hurting. I need connection. Saying those words out loud, even privately, is the first step to freedom. Because you cannot heal what you refuse to acknowledge. So yes, vulnerability may feel scary. Yes, it may feel like a risk. But the risk of vulnerability is far smaller than the cost of loneliness. Every time you choose honesty over hiding, you dissolve a little bit of the walls around your heart. Every time you allow yourself to be seen, you invite the possibility of being loved. And every time you practice vulnerability, you step closer to the kind of deep, meaningful connection that dissolves loneliness at its core. The third key to dissolving loneliness is to give through service. At first glance, this may seem counterintuitive. After all, when you are lonely, your instinct is often to withdraw, to protect yourself, to wait for someone else to notice your emptiness and come to fill it. But the truth is, one of the fastest and most profound ways to dissolve loneliness is to shift the focus away from yourself and toward others. Loneliness often grows because we are stuck in the story of our own lack. I don't have enough friends, no one understands me, nobody reaches out, I feel invisible. These thoughts repeat in our mind until they create a cycle of isolation. The more we focus inward in that way, the more we feel cut off from the world. But service breaks the cycle. Service says, I may feel lonely, but I can still add value. I may feel unseen, but I can still see others. I may feel like no one is giving to me right now, but I can still give. The beauty of service is that it reconnects you to humanity. It reminds you that you are not separate, you are not insignificant, you are not invisible, you are part of the larger fabric of life, and you have the power to impact others in meaningful ways. Every act of service, no matter how small, creates ripples that reach far beyond what you can imagine. Think about this. The moments you remember most vividly in life are often not when someone gave you something material, but when someone showed you kindness. A teacher who encouraged you when you felt like giving up. A stranger who smiled at you on a hard day. A friend who listened without judgment. These are acts of service. And when you step into that role for others, you don't just help them, you help yourself. Why? Because service shifts your identity. Loneliness makes you feel powerless, like life is happening to you and you are simply waiting to be chosen, waiting to be loved, waiting to be included. But when you give, you move from victim to creator. You are no longer waiting for connection to come to you, you are creating it. You are no longer waiting to be valued, you are offering value. That shift alone dissolves loneliness because it reminds you that you have something meaningful to contribute. Service does not have to mean grand gestures. You don't need to start a charity, donate millions, or dedicate every hour to volunteering. Service can be as simple as listening deeply to someone who needs to be heard, sending a message to check in on a friend, smiling at a stranger in the grocery store, offering to help someone with a task they are struggling with. These small acts might seem insignificant, but they can transform someone's day, and in doing so, they transform yours. There is also something powerful about volunteering in structured ways. Helping at a shelter, mentoring, joining community initiatives. Not only do you give, but you also place yourself in environments filled with people who share the same intention of helping. This creates an instant sense of belonging. You may walk in feeling lonely, but you walk out with a heart that feels connected and alive, because you shared in the human experience of giving. And here's something most people don't realize. Service is a mirror. When you give, you start to see yourself differently. Maybe you help a child learn something new, and suddenly you see your own patience and wisdom. Maybe you comfort someone, and you realize your presence can bring peace. Maybe you support a cause, and you recognize your ability to make a difference. These reflections build self-worth, and when your sense of worth rises, loneliness loses its grip. There is also a spiritual side to service. In almost every tradition and philosophy across the world, service is seen as a pathway to connection, fulfillment, and peace. When you give, you are aligning yourself with something greater than your own isolated world. You tap into the universal truth that life is not just about taking, but about sharing. And in that flow of giving, you find yourself connected to the whole. Now, let's be clear. Giving through service is not about ignoring your own needs or becoming a martyr. It's not about pouring yourself out until you are empty. True service comes from a place of abundance, not obligation. Even when you feel lonely, you still carry gifts, talents, and love that can flow to others. The paradox is that when you share those gifts, the emptiness you feel begins to fill itself. Loneliness says, I don't have enough. Service says, I can give from what I already have. Loneliness says, nobody cares about me. Service says, I can care about others, and in doing so, I will discover that people do care. Loneliness closes the door. Service opens it. One of the most powerful exercises you can try is this. The next time you feel lonely, instead of retreating, take one small action of service. Send a message of gratitude to someone. Compliment someone genuinely. Hold space for someone's story. Watch what happens. Often, you'll notice that your own loneliness softens immediately, not because someone suddenly gave you attention, but because you created connection through your giving. And this is the deeper truth. You cannot feel truly lonely when you are serving, because service is connection in action. It is proof that you matter, that you belong, that your presence on this earth makes a difference. The fourth key to dissolving loneliness is to cultivate presence. Presence is one of the most underrated yet most powerful practices in human connection. It is the state of being fully here, not in yesterday's regrets, not in tomorrow's worries, not halfway distracted by a screen or a thought, but completely immersed in the moment you are living. Presence dissolves loneliness because loneliness often lives in the absence of presence. Think about it. How many times have you been in a room full of people and still felt lonely? It wasn't because there weren't bodies around you. It was because there was no real presence. People were talking but not listening. They were there physically but not emotionally. They were scrolling through their phones, nodding absent-mindedly, or rushing to the next thing. The truth is, you can be in a crowd and feel utterly isolated if there is no presence. But here's the other side of the truth. You can be sitting with one person, or even sitting alone with yourself, and feel deeply connected if there is presence. Presence is connection. It is the glue of relationships. It is the foundation of love, friendship, and belonging. When someone is truly present with you, when they put aside distractions, when they look into your eyes, when they listen without interrupting, when they give you their full attention, you feel seen, you feel valued, you feel like you matter. And isn't that the very essence of dissolving loneliness? To know that you matter. But presence is not just about being present with others. It begins with being present with yourself. Many people run from their own presence. They drown themselves in busyness, entertainment, or noise because silence feels uncomfortable. Yet if you cannot be present with yourself, you will always carry loneliness like a shadow. When you learn to sit with yourself, breathe deeply, feel your emotions, and notice your own thoughts without judgment, you begin to create connection within. That inner presence is what allows you to later extend presence outward to others. Presence also anchors you in the now. Loneliness often lives in the past or the future. You feel lonely because you're replaying moments of rejection, heartbreak, or abandonment that happened long ago. Or you feel lonely because you're projecting into the future, imagining that nobody will ever love you, that you'll always be unseen, that you'll always be isolated. But presence pulls you out of that cycle. Presence says, right now, in this very breath, I am alive. I am part of life. I am connected to this moment, and this moment is enough. That shift is powerful. When you cultivate presence, even simple experiences become profound. Eating a meal becomes a moment of gratitude. Walking outside becomes a moment of connection with nature. Sitting in silence becomes a moment of connection with your own spirit. And when you bring that same presence into your relationships, loneliness dissolves because every interaction becomes deeper, richer, and more meaningful. Ask yourself, how often are you truly present with people? When a friend is talking, are you listening or just waiting for your turn to speak? When you're with your family, are you really with them or distracted by your phone? When you're sitting with yourself, are you breathing into your life or trying to escape it? Presence is rare in our modern world, and that is why loneliness is so common. People don't just need company, they need presence. The practice of presence requires intention. It means slowing down. It means resisting the urge to constantly multitask. It means practicing active listening, not just hearing words, but noticing tone, emotion, and energy. It means looking someone in the eye and letting them feel that you are with them, right now. These may sound like small changes, but they are life-altering. Here's something profound. The more present you are, the less lonely others feel in your presence, and the less lonely you feel yourself. Presence is a gift you give both ways. Imagine being the kind of person who makes others feel truly seen, heard, and valued. Do you know what happens? People gravitate toward you. They trust you. They open up to you. And in turn, you feel deeply connected, because presence is reciprocal. Cultivating presence also strengthens your relationship with purpose. When you live distracted, life feels shallow. Days blur together. But when you live present, life feels full. You notice details, you savor experiences, you feel gratitude for small things. And gratitude, as we'll later see, is another antidote to loneliness. Presence and gratitude feed each other. The more present you are, the more you appreciate life, and the more you appreciate life, the more connected you feel. One powerful way to cultivate presence is through mindfulness. This doesn't have to mean hours of meditation on a mountaintop. It can be as simple as pausing to take 3 deep breaths before entering a conversation. It can be putting your phone aside during dinner. It can be setting aside 5 minutes each day just to sit quietly, noticing your breath, your body, your thoughts, without judgment. These small practices build the muscle of presence. The reality is this: loneliness dissolves when you realize that you are not disconnected from life. Life is always here, now, in this breath, in this heartbeat, in this moment. The only thing that keeps you feeling separate is when your mind is elsewhere. Presence brings you home, to yourself, to others, to the moment, to the truth that you belong here, now. The fifth key to dissolving loneliness is to create environments of belonging. Belonging is not just about being included, it is about being embraced for who you truly are. Loneliness does not always come from a lack of people around you. It often comes from being in environments where you cannot be yourself, where you feel judged, unaccepted, or invisible. That is why belonging is more than presence, more than company. It is about the atmosphere of acceptance and safety that allows human hearts to open. Think about the places in your life where you feel the most at peace. Maybe it's your grandmother's kitchen, where you were always welcome. Maybe it's a close friend's house, where laughter never feels forced. Maybe it's a community group where you can speak freely without fear of ridicule. Those places have something in common. They are environments of belonging. And the truth is, when you are in such an environment, loneliness fades almost instantly. But here's the powerful truth many overlook. Belonging is not only something you stumble into, it is something you can create. You have the power to shape environments of belonging for yourself and for others. You do this through intention, through the way you speak, the way you listen, the way you show up. Belonging begins when you decide that people are safe around you. When you create space where people don't have to wear masks, where they don't have to pretend, where they don't have to meet impossible standards, you are creating belonging. Belonging dissolves loneliness because it satisfies one of the deepest human needs, the need to be seen, valued, and accepted without condition. Every person carries a longing to be part of something greater, to know that their presence matters. When that longing is met, isolation loses its grip. But when people are excluded, criticized, or forced to hide their true selves, loneliness thrives. That is why the environments we cultivate are so critical to emotional health. Consider this. You could walk into a room full of strangers, but if the energy in that room is warm, welcoming, and non-judgmental, you will not feel alone. But you could also walk into a family dinner, surrounded by people you've known your entire life, and feel crushing loneliness if there is criticism, coldness, or rejection in the air. Belonging is not about numbers. It is about the climate of acceptance. Now here's where it becomes deeply empowering. You don't have to wait for someone else to create belonging for you. You can be the architect of it. Start with yourself. Instead of rejecting your own flaws, accept them. Instead of silencing your own voice, allow it. The moment you create belonging within yourself, you will naturally begin to extend it outward. And when you extend it outward, others feel it. Suddenly, the people around you begin to feel safe, welcomed, understood. This creates a ripple effect. Belonging attracts belonging. One way to build environments of belonging is through intentional community. This means seeking out and nurturing relationships where acceptance is mutual. It could mean joining a group that shares your passions, starting conversations with people who resonate with your values, or even creating new traditions that anchor connection. Belonging flourishes where intention is planted. But belonging is not always about forming large groups. Sometimes it is about small, intimate environments where people can show up without fear. For example, inviting a friend to dinner and letting them know they don't have to perform. They can just be. Or opening your home in a way that says, "Here you are safe. Here you don't need to impress anyone. Here you belong." Those small actions can be lifelines to someone drowning in loneliness. Belonging also requires removing environments that harm your spirit. If you constantly surround yourself with people who belittle you, drain you, or force you into roles that are not authentic, you will continue to feel lonely even in their company. Dissolving loneliness often requires courage. The courage to walk away from places where you do not belong and the courage to seek or create places where you do. Sometimes dissolving loneliness is not about adding more people to your life but about being brave enough to choose the right people. Another dimension of belonging is contribution. Human beings feel less lonely when they are not just welcomed but also needed. Think about the sense of belonging you feel when you are part of a team where your role matters, or part of a family where your efforts are appreciated, or part of a cause where your contribution makes a difference. Belonging deepens when you realize you are not just occupying space, you are adding value. And here is the most liberating truth. Belonging does not require perfection. You don't have to be flawless to belong. You don't have to meet every expectation. You don't have to fit into every mold. True belonging is not about conformity, it is about authenticity. It is about finding and creating spaces where you are loved as you are, and where you extend that same love to others. So, the key to dissolving loneliness through belonging is this. Cultivate environments, both within yourself and around you, where people feel free to be real, where judgment is replaced with acceptance, where silence is replaced with listening, where isolation is replaced with inclusion. And remember, you hold more power than you think. The way you speak, the way you welcome, the way you build connection. All of it has the potential to turn a lonely space into a sanctuary of belonging. One of the most powerful ways to dissolve loneliness is to step outside of yourself and contribute beyond your own needs. Loneliness often magnifies when our focus is entirely inward, when our thoughts spin endlessly around what we lack, what we don't have, what we're missing. The walls of isolation grow thicker when all of our energy is turned inward. But the moment we begin to serve, to give, to add value to someone else's life, those walls begin to crumble. Contribution is not only an act of kindness, it is a cure for the soul. Why does contribution dissolve loneliness? Because it connects you to something bigger than yourself. When you give, whether it's your time, your energy, your wisdom, your encouragement, or your resources, you create threads of connection that stretch far beyond isolation. You stop being a single note and become part of a symphony. You stop being an isolated flame and become part of a fire that warms others. Contribution places you in the flow of humanity, reminding you that you are not separate but essential. Think about the times in your life when you felt the most connected, the most alive, the least lonely. Chances are, those moments involved giving. Maybe it was helping a stranger carry groceries. Maybe it was volunteering at a shelter. Maybe it was comforting a friend in pain. In those moments, loneliness evaporates because you are no longer asking, "What about me?" Instead, you are asking, "How can I help?" That shift in perspective transforms isolation into purpose. Contribution also dissolves loneliness because it affirms your worth. Many people feel lonely because they believe they don't matter, that their existence doesn't change anything. But when you contribute, when you see someone's face light up because of your kindness, when you watch a burden lift because of your effort, you realize your presence carries weight. You are reminded that your life makes a difference. And that realization is a powerful antidote to loneliness. Contribution doesn't have to be grand. It doesn't require wealth or extraordinary talent. Sometimes the smallest gestures have the greatest impact. A smile can break the ice for someone who feels invisible. A handwritten note can heal a heart that feels forgotten. A simple, "How are you?" asked with genuine attention can rescue someone from the edge of despair. These are not small things. These are lifelines, and every person has the ability to offer them. At the same time, contribution requires awareness. It asks you to look up from your own pain long enough to see the pain of others. This doesn't mean ignoring your struggles or pretending they don't exist. It means realizing that connection is often born out of shared humanity. Your loneliness can actually become a bridge. Because when you know what it feels like to be unseen, you are uniquely qualified to notice others who are unseen. When you know the ache of silence, you are equipped to speak words that heal. Your own experiences of loneliness can fuel contributions that create connection. Another dimension of contribution is legacy. Human beings are wired to want to leave something behind, to know their lives meant something. Loneliness is often tied to the fear that our existence will fade unnoticed. But when you pour into others, teaching, mentoring, supporting, inspiring, you are building a legacy that ensures your life echoes beyond yourself. Every act of contribution plants a seed in the soil of someone else's journey. And those seeds, in turn, blossom into fruit you may never see but that continues to nourish long after you are gone. Contribution also has the power to shift environments. When you walk into a room with the intention to give instead of to get, the energy changes. People feel it. You stop waiting for connection to come to you and instead become the source of connection. Loneliness often thrives in passive waiting, waiting for someone to notice, someone to invite, someone to care. Contribution breaks that cycle because it puts you in motion. Instead of waiting for love, you offer it. Instead of waiting for kindness, you extend it. Instead of waiting for community, you build it. Perhaps the most beautiful thing about contribution is that it multiplies. When you give to someone, they are often inspired to give to another. Your small act of generosity sets off a chain reaction that spreads far beyond what you can imagine. A word of encouragement you give today might ripple outward, touching dozens of lives in ways you'll never see. And in that ripple, you are never alone. You are part of something vast, something enduring. So if loneliness is pressing on your heart, ask yourself this: where can I contribute today? Who can I encourage, support, uplift, or serve? It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be large. Just start with one action, one word, one gesture. Because contribution doesn't just change the lives of others, it transforms yours. It shifts your focus, expands your vision, and roots you into the interconnected fabric of humanity. And in that fabric, there is no loneliness. There is only belonging, only connection, only meaning. Loneliness is not just the absence of people, it is the absence of depth. You can sit in a crowded room, be surrounded by hundreds of voices, scroll endlessly through thousands of online interactions, and still feel profoundly alone. Because true connection is not about quantity, it is about quality. It is not about how many contacts you have stored in your phone, but about how many souls you are truly bonded with. Cultivating deep connections is one of the most transformative ways to dissolve loneliness, because it addresses the root of the human heart, the need to be seen, to be known, to be understood, and to be valued. Deep connections don't just happen. They must be built, nurtured, and protected. They require presence. In our fast-paced, distracted world, so many interactions remain surface level. We ask, "How are you?" but we don't listen for the real answer. We nod, we smile, but our minds are elsewhere. Deep connection requires slowing down, turning off the noise, and choosing to be fully with someone. It is about listening not just to their words, but to the emotions underneath them. It's about noticing the pauses, the hesitations, the unspoken stories that linger in silence. To cultivate depth, vulnerability is essential. Loneliness thrives behind masks. When we pretend to be fine, when we show only the polished parts of ourselves, when we hide our struggles out of fear of judgment, we create invisible walls. Those walls keep others out, but they also keep us in. Vulnerability is the act of opening the door. It is saying, "This is who I really am. These are my hopes, my fears, my dreams, my wounds." And in that act of honesty, we invite others to do the same. Vulnerability creates resonance, the recognition that we are not alone in our struggles. Cultivating deep connections also means choosing quality over popularity. The world teaches us to chase more followers, more friends, more attention, as if numbers will fill the void of loneliness. But the truth is, one or two genuine, soul-level connections can do more to dissolve loneliness than thousands of shallow ones. It's not about being liked by everyone, it's about being deeply loved by a few. Depth requires investment. It takes time, patience, and intentionality. You can't microwave intimacy, it has to be slow-cooked. Another key to cultivating deep connections is reciprocity. True relationships are not one-sided. They are not about one person always giving and the other always taking. They are a dance of mutual care, where both people contribute, listen, and show up. Loneliness often lingers in relationships that are imbalanced, where one person feels unseen or unheard. But when reciprocity flows, when both parties feel valued and supported, the bond deepens, and loneliness is replaced with belonging. To build these kinds of relationships, we must also practice courage. Because opening up to depth means risking rejection. It means admitting that not everyone is meant to walk with us at the deepest levels. Some connections will fade, some will disappoint, some will betray. But that cannot stop us from seeking and building with those who are capable of meeting us with equal depth. Connection is always a risk, but it is a risk worth taking, because the alternative is a life lived behind walls of isolation. Deep connections are also sustained by presence over time. Trust and intimacy are not formed in a single conversation, they grow through consistency. It is in the repeated acts of showing up, in the little gestures of care, in the shared experiences that weave people together. It's in the late-night talks, the shared laughter, the comfort during pain, the moments when words aren't even necessary because presence itself is enough. These are the threads that form a bond strong enough to withstand loneliness. And perhaps most importantly, cultivating deep connections requires us to be the kind of person we want to attract. If you desire honesty, practice honesty. If you crave loyalty, be loyal. If you long for understanding, offer understanding. Depth calls to depth. The relationships you build will often mirror the qualities you bring. You can't expect openness if you remain closed, nor can you expect commitment if you give inconsistency. Loneliness dissolves not only when you find people who connect with you deeply, but when you yourself show up as someone willing to connect deeply with others. Ultimately, cultivating deep connections is about weaving a circle of belonging, a circle where you don't have to perform, where you don't have to hide, where you can breathe and simply be. It's about finding and being the kind of soul who says, "I see you. I hear you. You matter." In those moments, loneliness loses its grip, because you are no longer standing alone in the world. You are joined, heart to heart, in a bond that transcends distance, silence, and time. Loneliness is not a life sentence. It is not a permanent identity, and it is not a shadow that has to follow you forever. Loneliness is a signal, a deep inner call reminding you that you were never designed to walk this journey alone. You were made for connection, for belonging, for love, for shared laughter, and for the warmth of being truly seen. The truth is, dissolving loneliness begins with a choice to stop waiting for the world to rescue you, and to instead step forward into your own power. It is the choice to nurture yourself with compassion, to expand your awareness, to engage with life fully, to serve others, to embrace vulnerability, to seek meaningful presence, and to cultivate deep, soul-level connections. Every step you take in these directions weakens the grip of loneliness, until one day you look back and realize the walls that once felt so high have crumbled into dust. Remember, loneliness doesn't dissolve all at once. It dissolves piece by piece, through small but consistent acts of courage, openness, and love. Every conversation you initiate, every moment you choose to listen, every time you let your true self be seen, every connection you nurture, these are bricks removed from the walls of isolation. And over time, light floods in. You are not as alone as your mind sometimes tries to convince you. You are surrounded by potential connection, waiting to be awakened. And more importantly, you carry within yourself the ability to be the very bridge that dissolves loneliness for others. When you show up authentically, when you offer kindness, when you extend your presence, you not only free yourself, but you give others permission to step out of their own loneliness as well. So let this be your moment. Let this be the time you decide that loneliness will not define you, because you are so much greater than the silence you've endured. Step forward with courage. Reach out with openness. Invest in depth over surface. And never forget, you were never meant to walk alone. You are a thread in a much larger tapestry, woven into the human family, connected to hearts you may not even realize yet are waiting for you. Dissolve loneliness by living fully, by loving deeply, and by being brave enough to connect. Because when you do, you don't just change your own life. You create ripples of connection that can heal the world.